doesn't get more enemies to lovers than that. She was really irritating. I was a bit feral. That's so bad. She's the main character. What the hell? I was so mad. Time has come, like she's really gonna hit with this one. Hey book besties, we're back with another video. Today we're gonna wrap up my June reads. June has not been the best month for reading, can't lie. I have read a couple of quite enjoyable reads, but for the most part, not great. I only read 9 books for the month of June, which is not a lot for me. I would have liked to have got a couple more in at least, but the last book I read, and we will get to it, took me over a week to read. Like, was I well? Like, that is not me. That is not like me at all. It was a slog. We'll get there, we'll get there. So let's go through the 9 books I read. I started off the month with Beautiful Venom by Rena Kent. This is the first book in the Vipers series, like hockey, dark romance. I was so excited for this book. Obviously, we know Rena does dark romance very, very well, but she's never done sports romance before, so I thought, yes, like I love sports romance. I thought the time has come, like she's really gonna hit with this one. I gave it 2.5 stars. I honestly think it's the worst Rena Kent book that I've ever read. I was so disappointed. I expected it to give so much more than it gave. I just wasn't a fan. Don't get me wrong, there were some parts of it that I did really enjoy, but overall I just thought the story just wasn't the best. I did feel like it was kind of the same old that she's done time and time again with some of her other characters, so I am, however, very intrigued for the other 2 books that are to come, Jude and Preston. Jude and Violet had a little thing like that had me intrigued, and Preston and Marcus. I do love me some MM romance, so I'm more intrigued for their books, so I will still continue with the series, but it just, yeah, definitely my least favourite of hers that I've read. Then I moved on to If the Sun Never Sets by Anna Huang. This is book 2 in the If Love series, and this is the second part of a duet, so the first 2 books are a duet. This was marginally better than book 1. I gave it 3.25 stars. It was better. I did like to see them get their happy ever after, and it was a time jump, this book as well, which I did like, but again, I said about the first book I didn't like the way she'd written in third person because it's just not her style. First person suits her writing style like so much more. However, it had improved, the writing style had improved in this book. The MMC did redeem himself in my eyes because she'd written something in book 1 and I was just like, you're dead to me now.
You're dead to me, boy.
But he was redeemed, so definitely entertaining, but not my favourite. I still haven't moved on to the other 2 in the series, and it's just because I feel like I need them as little like filler books. They're not the main event. Moving swiftly on to Gold by Raven Kennedy. This is book 5 in the Plated Prison series. I had every intention of boxing off the last 2 that I needed to read because it's been quite a few months since I read the first 4. I binged the first 4, wanted to continue these, but my TBR jar had picked a few for me and I just thought, oh, let me get through these. So I put this to one side. So finally got round to it.
It's been 84 years.
I think this was my least favourite in the series so far. I still do have Goldfinch to read. I'd seen something where somebody was reading it and then they read this one and decided not to continue with the series. And after I finished it, I understood why. Because the way this ended pissed me off so much.
Don't piss me off!
I couldn't move on to book 6. I had to have a break. I will read book 6. I'm not DNF in the series, but I needed a break because I was so mad, guys. I was mad. So there were a lot of things in this book that I really enjoyed. Queen Melina redeemed herself. Like, I didn't realise this was going to be her redemption arc, but I wasn't mad about it. Like, I was fully invested in her POVs. I loved Slade's POVs, as always. Funnily enough, the chapters that I didn't enjoy were Oren's. I found them so boring. She's the main character. What the hell? I just couldn't get behind it. Yeah, I will get to Goldfinch soon, but this just put me in a mood. Then I moved on to my book club read of the month, Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. This didn't disappoint. I gave this 4.5 stars. What a beautiful story. This is so like heart-wrenching. Jennifer just writes a really heartbreaking story. She does that so well. Basically, the MMC was kidnapped as a child and was in captivity for 22 years, and he manages to escape and has to try and navigate his life in the modern day world because technology, like, you know, language, everything has moved on since he's been locked away. and he has no clue about any of it. And he moves in back to his childhood home, and the girl who lived next door, who was his best friend, is still living next door. And they rekindle their friendship and form this relationship, and he's very much like clung on to the thought of her during his time in captivity. And oh my god, it was beautiful. I cried at the end of this. It was so, so good. Like, I would implore anybody to go and read her books because they're just incredible. So yeah, this was my book club read. It's a free book club if anyone wants to join. It's on Fable and the link is in my description. The next book that I read was one that my TBR jar picked for me. I haven't been very good at sticking to it this month, guys. I'm so sorry. I picked 6 and I've only read 2. That's so bad. I tried. Do you know what? If the last book that I read this month didn't take me so damn long, I probably would have got more in. So we'll blame that author. So I went with The Ritual by Chantal Tessier. The prompt for this was read a dark romance book by an indie author, and I know the Lord series was independently published, so good enough for me. I ended up rating this 3 stars. I kind of had mixed feelings. There were some things that I was like, oh, spectacular, give me 14 of them right now.
Spectacular, give me 14 of them right now.
Because I love me some dark romance, like, love it. But then also some things that really annoyed me. Going into this, I hadn't heard a lot of good things about this book. I've heard good things about the series, but I've heard people say that book 1 isn't the best and the rest of them are really good. So I kind of went into it with that in mind, and I did enjoy it more than I was expecting to. I have to say that FMC drove me insane. Like, she was really irritating. She was really, really irritating. Like, the amount of times that she contradicted herself was wild. Like, girl, what are you doing? One other thing I found, which I never thought I would say, is that I felt there was far too many spicy scenes. There is no need to have that many spicy scenes, for the love of God. It just seemed like every time they were together, they were getting it on. Like, why? Come on. As I said, I was very entertained, and I will continue with the series. Moving on to Bully by Penelope Douglas. This was another one of my TBR jar prompts. This was read an enemies to lovers romance. Bully romance doesn't get more enemies to lovers than that, do you know what I mean? I very much enjoyed this. This was entertaining. I gave this 3.75 stars. One thing I have to say about bully romance is that I kind of hate read it. Like, I love to hate it because of how, generally it's the MMC, let's be honest, how he treats her. But then I love seeing how it gets turned around, and then like when you see into their mind and you realise the reasons why they're treating them that way and stuff. I love it. I genuinely couldn't put this book down. I read it in 24 hours. Like, it completely grabbed me by the throat and it did not let go. I had every intention of moving on to another one from my TBR jar prompts. This gripped me so much that I had to move on to book 2. So basically this book is all from Tate's POV, and then book 2, this is essentially rewritten from Jared's point of view. So I thought, do you know what? I haven't seen inside his mind the entire time. I need it. I needed it like injected into my veins. So I swiftly moved on to Until You. I also read this in 24 hours. I was a bit feral. I gave this 3.5 stars. I loved seeing into Jared's mind. Bless me. It really helped me to understand the issues he faced throughout his life and what he went through, because even though he explained some of it in book 1, you don't really know until you get a peek into his mind. So yeah, it was heartbreaking what he went through in his life. I just ate it up. I felt that this book set up the rest of the books in the series really, really nicely as well. Like, I can't wait to read them. It wasn't like a complete rewrite of Bully, so you weren't just reading the same story twice. There was extra chapters in here that weren't in book 1. Yeah, it was just a really nice read. This book also gave me some closure about some characters who I kind of didn't really like in book 1, but then when I saw things from a different perspective and got some context to some of the things that they did, it kind of like redeemed them. So yeah, definitely worth a read, these duets. Not my favourite of Penelope's work, but definitely worth reading. Now, one of my best friends has told me that the House of Devils series book 4 is coming out in July, like early July. So I said I would read the first 3 books so that we can tandem read book 4 when it comes out. So I dived straight into The City of Gods and Monsters. I gave it 4 stars. Guys, I absolutely loved this book. Like, I devoured it. It's over 700 pages, like nearly 800 pages. I read it in 3 days. Couldn't put it down. Was absolutely obsessed with Darien Castle. Like, this man is what I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? I was having like a silly, goofy little hee time. I laughed over this book. I cried over this book. It just gave me everything I wanted. I have to say the will they won't they tension between them was done incredibly well. I was rooting for them. I was rooting for them the whole time, and then the end of the book like just gave me life. The last few chapters kind of confused me a little bit. I felt that it was a tad too busy and it was kind of hard to keep up with what was going on. Also the fact that it's written in third person, and sometimes I found it difficult to know whose POV it was because she doesn't put the names of the person, and you kind of have to just guess based on, obviously it's third person, so it says everybody's name instead of I. So sometimes she would write a sentence and you thought, oh, it's from Lauren's point of view, but then she would say something and I'm like, oh, is it actually Darian's point of view? Like, it was a little confusing, but overall, smash. Because I had such a great time reading that, I literally like hopped, skipped and jumped straight into book 2, City of Souls and Sinners, and this ended up being the last book that I read this month because this book has taken me like 8 days to read. It's the same length as book 1. 3 days? 8 days. Like, make it make sense, guys. I literally couldn't have read this any faster if I tried. It was like pulling teeth. I gave it 2.25 stars, and I think that's probably a bit generous. I don't know what it was, guys, but I just didn't like this book. I was so disappointed. It was so slow and boring to start off with. I didn't know what the hell was going on. There's so many names to keep up with. It was just so confusing. I was like, who are all these people? The Dark Slayers, like the devils, I know who they are, and Lauren's friends, but there were so many people. It was just so difficult to keep up with. The same thing about the third person. Sometimes it was really hard to know whose point of view I was reading.
What the fuck is going on here?
I just really didn't feel there was much plot at all, except for, oh, Lauren's staying away from him because she's not allowed to speak. Just didn't intrigue me whatsoever. Literally had to force myself, and the only reason I am is because I've heard such great things about book 3. I want to read book 3, but I can't just skip a book because that's just crazy talk. So I had to get through it, and it's annoyed me. I can't even tell you how much it's annoyed me that it's taken me this long to read. Like, that's actually drove me insane. Like, please bring it back in book 3 for me, please. I beg. Yeah, that's that. Not the best month, but still some quite good reads in there. It's probably been a relatively short one compared to how long my wrap-ups normally are, but it is literally so hot today, guys. It's like 30 degrees. I've got the window shut because my neighbours are still in the garden. I don't want them to hear me talking. And because I'm filming, I've had to turn the fan off, so I'm literally melting. You could probably tell, do I look dead sweaty and gross? Probably. Yeah, so I've been trying to like speed through this as quickly as possible because I want to give you your wrap up. It's just not as in-depth as it normally is. I will make up for this next month, I promise. So now that I've created my TBR jar, I would normally post a TBR jar chooses my July reads. However, it's my birthday in July on the 9th. It's my birthday! And I've asked my mum to get me the Throne of Glass series. I know there's like 8 books. My plan is to read that entire series in July, so I haven't bothered to pick out any TBR jar prompts because I know I'm not going to get to them, so I just feel like there's no point. Like, it would literally just be a waste of time. So super excited for that. I think I'm going to do a reading vlog while I read it, you know, because I've heard such great things. I have extremely high expectations. I'm praying it's not going to let me down, but I don't think it will. Like, one of my best friends has read it and she's, knowing me, she said, you're going to love it, Sian. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to bother to pick any prompts for July. I'm just going to mood read what I fancy. I'm going to read book 3 of House of Devils, read book 4 when it comes out, and then just dive straight into Throne of Glass series and just bang, bash them out. That's the plan. I have just posted a half-year reading wrap-up. I've gone through all my favourite reads of 2025 so far. It was really fun to do. So I'll leave that video right here if you want to stay for a while. And as always, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching.